y'all. Welcome back to In the Kitchen podcast. Happy Friday. We have two special guests again. We brought them back.
We got our family.
We got brother Zach over there and sister Darneisha. And of course, we have our host, Johnny. So Johnny, what are we cooking up today?
Today in the kitchen, we're cooking up why church is a hospital. That's the conversation we're cooking up today. Just unscripted. I'll start with the scripture, and then we'll move on from there. And the scripture reads, and this coming from Matthew, the 9th chapter, starting at the 12th verse. And maybe I don't want to start there. Maybe I want to start at the 11th verse. It says, when the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" Now, when he heard this, he said, "It is not those who are well who need a doctor, but those who are sick." And it says, he said, "Go and learn what this means." So we kind of refer that into as church being a hospital, because where does physicians, where do they take up residencies? Usually in the hospital or doctor's office. And is for Jesus explained that it's for those that are sick. So if church is a hospital, how come everybody's not running to the church? Like we should know, like everybody should be running to the church if that's the case, because we all find something that's ill inside of us, something that's wrong, something that we can always relate to as hurting us in our journey as progress in life. You know what I mean? So how do we put that down as, how do we equate that with church as being the hospital? So number one, what I would like to address is, or ask is, if church is a hospital, why do so many people claim church hurt? Like, cause you get, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, church is a hospital. But then you ask anybody who's like, I used to go to church, but I don't go to church anymore. I used to do this and I don't anymore. Usually, it's like they say some form of church hurt. Either they wasn't feeling the church, or somebody in church said something to them wrong or something. They had just a negative experience in church.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, growing up in church, and I'll start if you guys don't mind.
I don't mind.
There, you see a lot of things growing up. And one of those things is that you find that a lot of people can't take criticism,
Mm-hmm.
and even constructive criticism to a certain point. So they run to either another church or they run away from church altogether. And it's, my belief that when you tend to be a little sensitive as far as what the Lord is saying to you, and in some cases, it doesn't necessarily have to be coming straight from God. It can be coming straight from a pastor, from somebody that loves you. When you get too sensitive, it becomes a point where you're asking yourself, or you should ask yourself, hey, is this something that can help me in the long run, or am I just in my feelings?
Yeah, that is deep. Sometimes we just be in our feelings. Usher tell you to move to a different seat. I ain't coming back to this church no more. I like that seat. I sat there the last time I came. You know what I mean? They just be in their feelings, and now I ain't never coming. She shouldn't have told me the movies. Right. Kind of crazy.
I think too, well, you kind of touched on it, but being judged, once people feel like let's say they go up there and they ask somebody, for prayer or something, and they're talking about something that's very personal, and they come back and now the whole church knows, what they're going through or something, then they're hurt because they were judged and everybody knows now, and that's not how church is supposed to be. Or, they feel like everything is getting taken, they're just being attacked all the time when the pastor's talking about something or something. They feel like they're always being attacked by something, instead of, well, let me look within myself and see what's really going on with me because maybe I'm not being attacked. Maybe this is God telling me this is something I need to change.
Man, you guys made excellent points. Darneisha, you want to elaborate on that one?
I think a lot of that has a lot to do with, obviously, I think with just immaturity. Because like you said, we'll go out there and we'll accept certain behaviors in other environments. And that's just how it is. Like, you go to the club, you get offended, you go to Walmart. Okay, let's be honest. Right? Shout out to Target. Shout out to around Walmart. But, and I think it's just this false expectation that, well, you go to church, so you're supposed to be like God, and you have this. And it's weird to say that, because it's like, in one aspect, they have this idea that they're going to church. They have this, I guess, expectation of perfection on those that go to church. And it's a false expectation. But at the same time, even in their own walk, like, they're not always doing everything the right way or talking the right thing. Like, it's a journey, right? It's not easy. We all need grace. And it's like, when they get offended or get in their feelings about certain things, all of a sudden that grace towards someone that's offended them becomes obsolete. However, when they're not doing what they're supposed to do as a believer, then there's that expectation for that grace. So it's like this double standard. And I feel like it just comes down to just immaturity, and just people too just not wanting the truth, or feeling like they can do things in their own mind, their own strength. Like, they're forgetting to bring God into certain things. So in their mind, it's just, well, I don't need God, or I don't need church, or so it's like they're looking for a reason to not be there.
We used to be.
I like the immaturity part too, because I feel like people are so immature to not have deep conversations, like talk about deep things. Like, if that's what hurts you, then why not tell them that, I didn't like that you talked to me that way. I didn't like that you did this. Like, communication, we grown-ups now. I could see if it was a child, like, being like, oh, I'm just not going to come anymore. Like, kids don't have choices, but you have a choice whether you're going to be a grown-up and talk about it, or you're going to be a child and run away from your problems,
Or just form an ought against someone because it offended you and hold on to it, versus, again, it goes to basics like communication, or, someone could just be having a bad day, or just something terrible could just happen to that person. It doesn't justify them being snippy or anything, but communicate. You don't know what that person's going through. Oh, it may not even be about you. Something going on a lot. Exactly.
I like that you guys all brought up like 3 different original and different points and aspects of it. But then if you kind of put it back into the context of hospital, why do most people leave the hospital? It's usually the service.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's usually what's happening in the service that they get that makes them like, oh, they're not tending to me. Oh, they're asking me too many questions. Oh, they think I'm just here for drugs, or, to get a new medication.
Feel like you're attacked.
Or whatever it is. And a lot of times they feel under attack or whatever. But a lot of times the focus is wrong. You get what I'm saying? Because you're not here for the lady at the receptionist desk. You're not here because you have some kind of trauma or some kind of tragedy or something that has actually happened to where you really need help, and our focus gets distorted.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if you was there for the Lord in general, and you knew exactly why you came to, why you showed up in church was your need, right? It was to be either to be blessed or to be healed from something. And we forget that the cure is Jesus. But we not waiting around for the medicine. We already pulling plugs, and we trying to check ourselves out of, because we haven't really, our focus is not really on what it should be. We use people as our focus, like as the service. Well, this was not a great service, so, I can't take what was being said, but you should have been there really for what the cure was,
Right.
For the medicine that is being administered. There's a medicine that's being administered, and it's Jesus, and it's to heal you from the inside out. But we're focused on people.
Right, and that leads back into how much trust do you have in God? Because if you're coming to his place, the place where he's most in all the time, you're coming to that place for help. How much trust do you have in him in order for him to show you these people that are going to help you and not lead you back, down a bad path. Because if they're asking all these questions, it's just trying to get context of, the things that you're going through so that they know how to help you and know your triggers and know things like that, not to put you down this rabbit hole of, oh my God, they're attacking me. But really, how much trust do you have in our God to know that he's going to put you in this situation in order to help you get out of it?
And also looking at the source of sometimes where your conflict is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at the source sometimes as well, because the simple fact that I could have been offended on a lot of things that have been said to me, and through different ministers, different people, sometimes even, my pastor who I love, there could have been conflict in the things that have been said to me or how things were handled.
Yeah.
But I understand my mission. See, my mission is not to follow man. My mission is to follow Christ.
Yeah.
That's what a Christian is. It's a follower of Christ. So I understand the humanness of my pastor. I understand the humanness of the patrons at church, and I understand their humanness. And I have to take my focus off of them and take my focus into what do I come here for? What is my benefit of being here? And God does use people for us to interact. That's how he shows himself. And it does build our character. But there's been a lot of things where I could have had a nice rebuttal or said something or spoke my peace of mind and decided not to because of the simple fact of that's not my focus.
Yeah.
I'll get caught up in that rabbit hole going on trying to figure out how to make you think differently of me. But my whole focus is what God thinks of me, and that's why some people can't get healed in church. It's a hospital, but you can't get healed in church because your focus is wrong. Your focus is not on your treatment. Your focus is on other people seeing you with this disease.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's more like, now I got this disease and I'm trying to hide it.
Right.
So you can't. So a lot of times it's you who's stopping you from your healing because you don't want to give total all of you so that you can be healed. That's just like going to your doctor and you're not giving him all the symptoms you're feeling because, so now he can't diagnose you right. He can't diagnose you because you over here like, you know you got a headache, but you ain't saying it. You forgetting stuff you don't want to say it. You know, that's why when I get in my doctor, listen, they pretty much get all of me. And the parts that I do be trying to hold back, my wife gonna tell it anyway. Doc, you said no red meat. He at the house eating steak now. But it's like a revolving door of people coming in and out of church when it's supposed to be the hospital, but never getting the cure.
Mm-hmm.
They never get the cure, or they never realize they're the ones that need the help. They too busy trying to wheelchair somebody else in the church and tell you all about their disease and their issue and what they need, and then they missing the mark for themselves. Because I've been on plenty of sermons where I'm like, I'm listening to the sermon, got 4 people in mind that I'm thinking like, this will bless them. And then the more I think about it, I need this as well. I might need it more than they do. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's the talking to her. Yeah, you get them, Jesus. You get them, Jesus. You all over here. And it's funny because those are the ones you look around the church and they're the main ones not paying attention. They on their phone, they feeding the baby, they doing whatever they doing except getting the help that they need. Because some of us are in denial. We don't want to say we have this issue. And I like to say that's a more kinder way of saying it because I keep saying the disease. But a kinder way of saying it is an issue. We all have an issue. There's not, yes, multiple. There's like no human on this earth that don't have some type or some form of issues. Whether it's depression, whether it's loneliness, whether it's the unclean speaking, or whatever the case may be, judgmental. That right there, that is a major one in church. Mm-hmm. The judgmentalness of church is a big reason why people don't get healed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They can't get healed, and now you judging them. Like this is the one that burns me up the most. when you don't have experience in that area, you've never had it as your temptation. It's never been your downfall, never been your flaw, never been your vice, or however they call it. And then you want to judge me and give me advice on how I can change. But you don't know what it's like to be here. That's like telling a crackhead, just stop smoking crack. Sounds easy. Right? Sounds easy, but you've never been in this trap to where you ain't took no hit, so you don't know what it's like. You don't know the effects on your mind. You don't know the effect. Because even myself, I'll be looking like, well, it should be simple. It's easy.
When you're a crackhead in 2024, y'all know what it does to you.
Yeah. No, really though. Because I always say that like in a joking way. Who was the first person that was like, this is the cool drug?
Right.
The one that was like, you don't have any more teeth. You lost your job. You don't have nowhere else to live. All you do is walk around trying to look for crack. That's the one for me. Right? I'm ready for that one, right? In our heads, that's how it played out. But for that person that had already took that step, it's like...
But it's a symptom usually to a deeper issue. What was that trauma? And you have experience in that area of trauma. And if you don't, then you don't understand why they have the symptoms and why they're self-medicating in them.
Yes. Just like the one I get and I relate to easily is, you're a Christian and you still smoke weed. You go to church, you smoked weed before, like, or whatever. And it's like, okay, but you ain't seen God heal me from this, and this. This is the one thing I'm still working on. He's still working. That's my thorn in my side. But you want to try to give me all these little, but you ain't ever smoked weed. Not a day in your life. You know what I mean? Or whatever the case may be. Like, and Christians get so judgmental that we forget where the heck we came from. Guess what? You was patient zero. You probably affected everybody else. And then now you judgmental. Now you want to judge me for the very same thing you injected into my life. You know what I mean? And being judgmental is a big part of why the church numbers dwindle. Yeah. It's, instead of helping people with their problems, a lot of times we're judging them. We're preaching over the pulpit, and I get it because I do preaching. There are some things that are like, the Holy Spirit is just revealing this. I have no idea who is touching. I don't know nothing about your life. I know nothing about your situation, but this is what the Holy Spirit put on me. But then there are some preachers who know all about your life. They know everything that you've done. They know you personally, and they're preaching over the pulpit to try to blast you out because it will change you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to change your church.
See, you can put a story in the Bible. Shame and guilt, it's never.
Your church, your trust, everything.
Not at all. Not at all. And it wasn't Jesus's way.
Never.
Judas in the camp. Judas one of the 12. He one of the 12. Jesus knew his flaws. He knew what he knew his intentions, his flaws, his thoughts, his all of those things. He didn't kick him out the circle. He didn't say, oh yeah, you Judas, you know what I mean? Matter of fact, when it happened, he said, hey, go do what you're supposed to do. Go handle your business. And I think that's one of the reasons why people don't get healed, because we're scared to open up.
Yes, we're not transparent. That's exactly, I think, a lot of the times what the issue is, that we're not transparent enough. So people who have certain issues, they don't know who to go to for those issues. And the people who don't relate to those issues
are the ones who are going to speak up.
Close speaking up. But they're not relatable at all to my issue or circumstance. And those who have those same issues, we're quiet. And that person feels like they have no one to go to, and that no one that understands them, or that they can be honest with, or that's not going to judge them, or that can honestly help them through whatever it is that they're going through.
And that's one of the reasons why the Bible says not to forsake the assembling of the brethren. Yeah. We think not to forsake the assembly of the brethren is keep the numbers in the church so the church look big, so we look like we a mega church. No, it meant more. Let us sharpen each other. Let us be in a community where wherever you've been through, whatever you have faced, you can help me face it through your experience and through, how God delivered you from it. You know, not to be judgmental and tell you, you keep on doing this, and that. You know what I mean? Because everything seems simple. Half of the stuff we got ourselves into in this life journey was so simple as a solution. Turn the other way. Put the weed back down. Stop. Don't go to homeboy's house. You see how she dressed. You know how it's going down if you stay there too long. Right?
But I think that's the mission of what being a true Christian.
That's yours. That's where I'm at.
Fix yourself enough, because we're not all 100% fit. We're never going to be there until the Lord takes us back. But we're supposed to fix ourselves enough so we can say, hey, this is how, I got through this. So I'm going to try to see if this works for you. If it works for you, cool. If not, then I'll try to point you in another resource to see if they have the answer.
Or a different avenue. Or even that person who understands your journey can pray for you in a different way. They can pray for you in a different way. I done have people praying that if you smoke another cigarette, you're going to cough your lung out. Like, what is that about? Like, you know what I mean? Just take away that appetite for cigarettes. If they get to smoking cigarettes that you will cough, they will cough so hard that they would never want to smoke another cigarette again. And it's like, okay, what kind of prayer is that? You know what I mean?
You're praying.
But for somebody who's sensitive to that, can say, even when I slip up, even when that craving comes, and I slip up and have one smoke, and I can get back on the bandwagon and try again. We get to acting like Jesus ain't forgave us on numerous occasions, and we shaming people. Exactly. Where you trying to break bread, you trying to leave the hospital early because you're not getting cured. You just being condemned for having an issue. Yeah. And so the meaning that Jesus had behind it is, I come here to supply the need for those who need me. Some of us are so judgmental, you don't even need Jesus. You done created yourself. You done made up what you think you are and how you, until you start for really figuring out. Because there's certain people that they don't even see their own flaws. They so far beyond their own flaws, but they can point yours out to a T.
I think people overcome certain, and honestly, so easy to spot the big issues, right? Drinking, smoking, partying, cursing, the big things, fornication, event. I think people overcome some of those big sins that they forget that there are so many little foxes that you're not working on. Like you said, your character, how you talk to people, how you act, how you think, your judgmentalness, your lack of understanding and patience, those are the type of things that, those small things, we're not having long suffering for people, just kindness.
I know sisters that are,
Yeah.
They are the finest people. You will avoid those people because when they say something, behind it is not, it's to make them seem empowered because they know the word or have but to make you feel belittled because you're not up to their standard.
Right.
Modern day Pharisee.
Yeah. Also, so there's a lot of those in the church.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who come and they come for healing and they never allow it to take place. It don't have nothing to do with church hurt. It just, they don't allow the healing to take place because they've never really connected with exactly what the word is. So then it's almost like refusing that medication. It's almost like the medication is there. Let's say, for example, right now I'm on antibiotics. I had some oral surgery. I'm on antibiotics. They take the cure enough. I take the antibiotic enough just so it don't hurt no more, that much anymore. But I never finish the antibiotic to keep me all the way through.
Hold up.
Yeah.
I only take it enough to where I'm not hurting anymore.
Right.
But then here comes the infection again.
Right.
And then it comes back. And now that particular amoxicillin or erythromycin or whatever that medication is, now you weigh something strong because now your body's resisting it. And that's a lot of how people go to church. So even with church being the hospital, you have to learn how to maintain your spiritual life. Like there's a way of maintenance where you have to complete the thing through. You know what I mean? And some of us, we go in because, my baby daddy, I'm having issues with him. You know what I mean? And then you get in church, you no longer have that issue. So now you slide back into the world a little bit, little by little. You slide back into, and then you come back when it's worse. You know what I mean? How do we get in that position? Like what's the mindset on that? Y'all want to come in on that, or you?
Honestly, I think, look, from my own experience and me going through my own ups and downs, I would say lack of humility for me. Reason being, like you said, there's something big that you overcome, and then you start to think, okay, well, I've arrived, I got it.
Okay, started from the bottom now. Yeah.
And you don't realize you're not looking at all the other things that you still need to work on, or all the other things, root issues that you need to work on. That, like, what was the root issue that even got you linked up with this person?
Now I think that's where we should be. That is it. There you go. You
know, you got to you prune the leaves off, the dead branches off, but what about the root? You know, just like when you're planting, you have a green thumb. I do not. I feel why the what is that? No, it's the desert flower. The succulent.
Oh, succulent.
Succulent. RP. That's how you're terrible, right? So, like, but you can prune the outside of something, but if you don't feed it on new soil and there's no nutrients, and you don't constantly like take care of the root aspect of it or replant it so the roots can grow. Some of you got to repot stuff. If you don't do that, it's still gonna die or wither. Or you're gonna go right back to having dead branches and leaves falling off, or your growth becomes stunted. Right? A plant doesn't grow as big or as like it should grow, and it starts to decay in certain areas because you're not feeding the root in the soil in the root and things.
And that's a very good point, because a lot of people they surface speed things. So they only take the surface portion instead of thinking, why am I choosing men like this? Like, okay, you came in because your baby daddy crazy, but now you in another relationship, a little bit similar. So instead of getting to the root cause of why am I choosing men this way? Why are these type of people appealing to me? Instead of getting to the real,
long enough, but take a break from relationships entirely. You can take even self, try to figure out what's going on myself. Let me just stay single enough to even figure myself out.
You just hit a button with me. Because the simple fact, and I mean, it's a kind of on topic, but off topic, relationships, they feel like we should be 50-50. But no, it's 100-100. You know what I mean? 100% of you, 100% of me. We build up 200. Not the 50-50, because you got to learn how to know yourself, love yourself. And people get in relationships because they have no self-love. So they're relying on that other person to fill that other 50% when you should be 100. Yeah. I don't understand if it's a generational thing, but people are afraid to be by themselves to learn themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what makes me and my wife's relationship work, because we've already known ourselves. We know each other through and through, and then came together as in that. And I know it's not a relationship topic, but it has to do with that healing too. And until you can heal yourself, you're not ready for a relationship, because all you're going to do is take that emptiness into the next relationship and the baggage along with it. Because there's an empty slot, and then there's the jar's half full, the half full part, and then the full part, full of baggage, and empty on content, on real life, relationship structure. And that's how we treat God. We go into into the house, and we just want the cure, but we don't want to put in the work that it takes to hold this treatment, which is the relationship.
Back the bags with you, but you following Jesus, but you dragging all this stuff. And he's like, just let it go. All you need is it.
Well, the bag here's like,
no baby, yeah, go hurt you. Fun. And you're just dragging stuff, and he's like, you don't need none of that. I'm sufficient.
And that's one of the reasons it's called the hospital. It's to deliver you from that baggage. That stuff should be left at the altar. That's the stuff that you really go to church for. And we need to really build a body of Christ that is like the Acts church. It said nobody had a need because they went to each other's houses. They didn't judge anybody. They just saw you had a need. They try to fulfill the need. If it's somebody who's struggling with what you're struggling with, you put them in. Like as far as like physical or emotional things, just like Jordan. Jordan, like I admire her because she acknowledges she needs a cure. She acknowledges there are some insufficiencies in myself. But instead of making excuses, she's pursuing the cure. You know what I mean? And so in that being said, she's not going to judge nobody who's going through what she's going through, but she will put out that help. And have you noticed the most people who do the most talking will give you the least help? The people who complain the most will give you the least, will put the least effort into anything that contributes in your life. And it's so crazy because you see people at church and there's different relationships in church. There's some where you got that corner person who I can go to you, I can tell you whatever. Then there's the ones that just the patrons that come and go. Sometimes they there, sometimes they not. And then you got the ones that are like the pastor's pets and, and there's all different relationships in church, is what I'm saying. Yeah. But then there's certain relationships that they're always trying to speak into you, but you know what I mean? They try to speak a good word into you, but they're not putting forth the effort, the follow through with it. They just gonna tell you some stuff, like, you know what I mean? Instead of following up, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I like this. Yeah, that's why I like the fact that you guys grafted this couple into your, and not only just give them advice, but let's keep this as an interaction to where we can help you in this, but it also helps you.
Crazy thing is that it would have never started had you not poured into us.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because it's a trickle down. It's a revolving door. I can't help somebody else if I'm not getting poured into, and I can't receive that help if I'm not listening and actually being active and receiving that help. I can get help all day, but it's one thing to put that help into action, and it's one thing to actually have that help that I receive and give it to somebody else.
And I like the fact that even with this group, we can be honest with each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll say some stuff and it's raw, and it's because it's experience. And I'm just giving you my experience so that you can pull the meat off the bones, right. Discard the bones. Right. If I say something that doesn't work for you, right. Hey, by all means, that's not going to work for me. But then pull out the meat that will work for you. Right. And we not like that. If somebody turned down our advice in church, we like, I told them 32 times what to do. They ain't listening to me. You know what I mean? Well, half of the time, you ain't really gave me a real experience that's really going to help me. Okay. You just told me what I did that was negative. Yeah.
Walk alongside me. Sometimes that's what I need.
Because we learn it from each other. Even though she's a new Christian in this walk, I learn from her all the time. I learn from their relationship all the time. And I'm a veteran in my relationship. Mm-hmm. But, there's romantic things that I can step my game up, and I watch them as young bucks. And I'm like, dang, man, I really need to step my game up. Because they come up with some romantic, cool stuff that I'll be looking like, yeah, hey. And I'm a complainer. I turn stuff down. Like, I'm sorry. I'll just be like, but that's where I learn. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I'm watching my son. I complained. I would have been complaining like a man. Got me all dressed up. All these people all around. I hate people. Right? You know what I mean?
He complains inside and inside. Don't say it out loud anymore.
Now I got to make small talk. Talking to your friends. I don't even like your friends. But in regards to the church, we have to put that mantle on us to say, we're not just going to tell you what the cure is. We're going to help you get there. That's the reason why Jesus was sitting at the table with you. Mm-hmm. Like, Jesus could have been anywhere instead of sitting at the table with these people, right? Jesus was the King of Kings. He could have came and sat in palaces. He could have came and whoever's king at the time, you're destroyed, you're destroyed, you're destroyed. Build my own kingdom. Boom. You know what I mean? But he's sitting at the table with the very people that nobody else liked. Nobody else would. And we have churches that are filled with Pharisees, like my man said. We self-righteous. We ain't helping nobody. We ain't investing in nobody. Not pouring into nobody unless it's something negative.
Don't be bothered. We're busy with our own. It's good. You have an advice. You have an opinion. I mean, we're all opinionated. You have an opinion. You have your little 2 cents, but you're not following through. You're not taking the time and sacrificing that time and pouring into someone else. You just want to keep your opinion and your advice of what you think they should be doing.
And what happened to like testimonies? Like your test was supposed to show you that you overcame this in order to help somebody else. God put you through that in order for you to help somebody else through it. And once you finally got through it, he was like, oh, I guess I'm just going to become judgmental and be like, you going to have to get through it yourself because I'm not about to help you. You're not remembering.
They get quiet about their testimony and what God brought them through. Yeah.
Like what happened? Like, why don't you talk about the things that you went through in order to help somebody else? You're just so quiet and closed off to a point where you're forgetting that God brought you here. You did not bring yourself here. He let you free of all your baggage. He helped you, succeed in life. But you over here judging the person on your left and on your right about the clothes they wearing. Yeah.
So then to conclude this episode, how would you feel like just being transparent? I feel like God has healed me through, and not necessarily, I want to say through church, but not through church, just through my experience with Jesus. Like my whole walk with him. I feel like he's healed me from so much. I mean, there's still things that, I'm still diagnosed. Because treatment ain't always overnight. Sometimes there's a long extended treatment, and some treatments, hey, I can pint that pill, I'm good right now. You know what I mean? I'm strict, but then there's some long-term things. But I feel that this is what makes me keep my Christian walk going, is from the things that he has healed me from. You know what I mean? Like small things that you never even think about, jealousies, insecurities, all of those things that he's like healing me from. And I think sometimes that's the problem with the judgmental people, is they focus on the one negative. You know what I mean? They focus on the one negative, but you have so many other aspects that God has changed in your life. Like as far as like the way my whole life is designed right now is because of my relationship with God. What he's healed me from. Yes. How to love my wife in a proper way. Like it took me to go through a whole divorce with my first spouse in order to figure out what I needed in this relationship. You know what I mean? And that comes from the healing of being in church. I'm watching my pastor, and they're 45, 50 something years, 51 years married, longer than I've been alive. You know what I mean? That takes a real dedication. And I always thought that stuff was impossible. Like, ain't nobody without messes stepping out on their significant others. Is, like, in my younger days, like, boy, you out. I done have honeys, and I done really, I really have feelings for her, but I ain't scared to kick rocks. Especially if something cuter or finer come along, I might just did it, right? That's how you think when you're young. But because of the maturity and the healing of the mind, I understand that my wife is, you know what I mean? She's the queen of my galaxy. You know what I mean? Like, she number one. She hold the house together. She's this. When you got these other cats that's, they treat their woman any kind of way because they don't understand the value she holds. I learned those kind of healing things in church because I didn't grow up in a dual parent household. Right. She may have grown up in a dual parent household, but I didn't. So I never seen someone have to love somebody unconditionally and on a long-term situation, whether you're getting along with them or you're not, you like them at that moment or you don't, a whole something special, So God has healed me personally from so much, especially mentally here, as it takes a lot of that. And you guys name like an experience or think of an experience where truly there are some things that God has healed you from, like being in this hospital, like since you've been in church, because there's no way we've stuck this long. Anybody else?
Yeah.
You know how many people done dipped out of it? Like, I mean, people who I thought were faithful, dedicated, really Christ, centered people who think that you won't even know where to find them at right now. Some of them I see them on social media, back in the club, back doing whatever it was they did before. Yeah, they just left. Yes, you know what I mean. So it's this healing is a process, and it takes a strong person to take this longevity in this walk of relationship. Because what did he say? I'm married to the backslider. There's going to be a marriage in heaven. That means Jesus put a ring on it. He put a ring on it. So, have you felt like you've come a long way as far as being healed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would say I have. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that
Always
I'm
to work.
getting worked on right now and, crying about and still talking to him about it. But I think finally getting off the merry-go-round. I was on a merry-go-round by myself, just going in circles about, trust issues and insecurities and things like that. Like, yes, I'm still insecure about some things, but when it comes to my relationship, I don't have that much insecurity as I did before, So God has healed me when it came to finally being able to trust my significant other and not, holding anything from the past against him. And, he's given me a lot of grace and finally helped me get off that merry-go-round of not trusting him so I can be able to trust God. Because without trusting, I'm getting leeway of like, well, if I can't trust you, I can't trust God. Because you're supposed to be the person that I'm with 24/7. And I held to such a high standard. If I can't trust you, then there's no way that I could trust the man of, yeah. So I think that's something that he has healed me with. And, there's still a little part that's still
a lot of growth within you trusting God and trusting yourself, because you have to allow, as you trust God, to trust yourself, because you start second guessing your decisions.
Yeah.
And I've seen you grow tremendously in trusting your decision because you are trusting God. You get what I'm saying? And he's a great equation, but he should be the second of the equation. You know what I mean? Like, I trust God so much that he gave me this man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not God, now he gave you God, but God gave you him that brought you, your life, your family closer to him. You know what I mean? But always know he's expendable. God's not. Regardless of where you at, that love always has to come first, because that's what's going to be your confidence. He's going to be you know what I mean? But I've watched that growth and I love it. I love it. But it's because you came in sick and needed that physician. About either one of you guys want to elaborate on that? So don't be polite now.
So my experience was a little bit different because, I grew up in church or whatever. I didn't realize I was sick. So I had to find out for myself that I was sick. So finding out for yourself,
yeah,
very humbling because, growing up, I'm a PK. So I'm like, I got it together, and then, every now and then I was like, oh, this, yeah, and every time they use it. Right, exactly. And then when my dad passed away, that was an eye-opener as to how codependent I was on him, or dependent I was on him, because he had his walk, but I think, and I believe the Lord took him because it was time for me to have my own walk.
Mm.
And that is a tough lesson learned.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, who do I go for advice? Me.
Yeah.
Who do I talk to, God, as far as I think different things that I need to learn in life. well, you, right, Lord? You know? So it was just very eye-opening to be totally dependent on God and just like, wow, we out here now. Like,
And sometimes, as like growing up in church, we could be so arrogant with knowing so much about like the Bible and knowing so much about church etiquette and how to operate in church that we think that we all together. And I think sometimes we're the most sick. The worst. We're the most sick. We need a treatment on top of a treatment, right?
we're in that mindset of, you know, hot and cold. The Lord said, I'll spew you out in my mouth if you're lukewarm. We're sitting up in the church lukewarm. We can be cold or hot, but we choose to be right in the middle because, you know, we grew up.
And then there's that arrogance of, I am praying. I am this. I am doing that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so we think we got it together, but not even really knowing, you know, on the inside,
Right.
You being ate up by this spiritual cancer that's like either sin, arrogance, whatever. And it can be showing its face in different forms that you're not recognized.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we think of the obvious sins. Well, I'm not out there partying. I'm not out there doing this. I don't have different girls all here and there. But internally, just a part of your character is so many flaws and so many character traits that you got to work on.
And trials
And you won't even, you got them hidden under the surface because you think you all good. For real. You know how to hid them from yourself. Because I love when God reveals something about me to myself. Because when I realized, like I think I'm way past anger. Like, my high school days, I was a brawler. I like to fight. And I'm the kind of fighter, like, it's not a real fight if I don't get punched back. You know, you're not mad if I knock you out too early. Right? And so, because I'm like that kind of a guy, that brawler mentality, like, the way God worked on me, like, I'm thinking I'm done with that. Because now I'm more gentle, I'm more kind with my kids, my family, and all this. And then I had an experience where I said, dang, bro, God revealed to me, you're still an angry person, buddy. You still quite angry. And I had to deal with that. Like, dang, how can I be more gentle? Like, I done stop slapping people around. Like, never my wife, y'all, never my kids, nothing like that. I mean, you know, if we out there and it's out there, we out there. Right? How about yourself? Do you want to comment?
Wait, what was the question again?
The question is, how have you certain things you've been healed from, or how your progress of healing?
God has healed me from a lot of things, but I'm just learning, like, again, a lot of deeper things and that's the scary unknown part, because there's sometimes things that are in us that you don't even know is in you. And it took me, like, going through life coaching and therapy, shout out Jesus in Therapy, to start revealing some of that stuff in me. Like I said, stuff that you don't even know that you have, or it's that big of a deal, or that you do that often. Like, now I'm, like, getting to a point where I get self-conscious sometimes, like, I said too much, or I shouldn't have said this, or I was harsh, or I have to go back and ask people, like, well, did this offend you? Or before I wouldn't think about it, I don't care, because I'm a very outspoken person, I'm very direct. But the Lord is working on me to where I actually think, like, well, maybe you said that wrong, or did it offend you that I said this? And I'm praying and asking, Lord, like, cloak me in humility. Because, again, I realize a lot of that, those undersurfacey issues, humility plays a big part on why we don't see or don't work on those things, or why it can be a hit and miss. So now I'm thinking more about things I never thought about before. So God is obviously still working on me, but He has delivered. I've come a mighty long way. I'm sure maybe you didn't even notice. But there's still a lot of work that has to be done.
And that's for all of us. That means we need to stay in the hospital. Sometimes we need longer, you know what I mean? It's a continuous thing. It's a continuous thing. So those of you that are out there and you need some healing, you may not even recognize it yet, but you need that healing. Get you a great Bible-based church that is non-judgmental, that's going to love you the way you are and love you into Christ, the Christ fold. That's where you should be. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you. Hit the like button at the bottom of your screen. And if there's any topic that you have that you would like for us to discuss, please feel free to comment or write in the comments or say how you feel about each episode. We thank you, and we thank you for listening to us. Get yourself into a great Bible-based church that is going to heal you, because we are all in desperate need. We all have issues. Bible says we all have fallen short of the glory of God, which means we all sinned, and when there's no perfect person. So I know some people have been church hurt, and you ain't trying to do the church thing. Get in a relationship with Jesus. He'll guide, judge.
Yeah.
Bye. Have a blessed day. Enjoy.